Welcome, everybody. It's the Dynasty. Glad to have you with us. This is a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm Chris Stewart, joined by A.J. McCarron. Trent Richardson joining us a little bit later, but do want to remind you that new episodes of the show drop each week. You can find us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, if you're just looking for the show, go to thedynastybama.com. Also, wherever you're listening, please rate us, review us, share, and be nice when you're doing so. Check us out all across social media at The Dynasty Bama. Our program brought to you by our newest sponsor, Autumn Air Home Services, Birmingham's trusted full-service home comfort company. Thank you to Autumn Air Home Services for coming on board. Today on the show, we're going to talk about Kalen DeBoer's 7-year contract extension and what that means for Alabama and for Coach DeBoer. Plus, we're reacting to the NFL draft. Ty Simpson, the surprise of the first round, not necessarily that he went there, but where he went in that first round. We'll talk about it, his landing spot there with the Rams, and also big news on the recruiting trail as Alabama lands the nation's top quarterback for 2027. Starting things off with Coach A.J. McCarron, and let's talk about Coach Kalen DeBoer. Quite a deal, but it's the cost of doing business these days, A.J. It is good to be one of the top head coaches in college football, especially when your name gets mentioned for other jobs and when others are getting new contracts as well, because that trickle-down effect can be awfully profitable.
Yeah. I mean, what, 12 and a half a year? Something
I'll
like
take
that?
it. Yeah,
I mean,
that worked.
shoo.
7 years, 12 and a half. It runs through end of January 2033. It's a $2 million increase over what he would have made under the terms of his original deal.
Listen, I'm happy for Coach DeBoer. I mean, he's always been great to me. His family's always been awesome. Spent a ton of time talking to his father-in-law, who's freaking awesome. Me and him at the Rose Bowl just stayed in the suite and talked for, hell, maybe an hour. And
Yeah.
he had a bunch of great stories. But I'm happy for him. Listen, I mean, as a coach, you got to get your money whenever you can. So I don't fault him one bit. And listen, it's always going to be a mixture of fans that I can't believe we paid him, blah blah blah. Like, it is what it is. My question to those fans is, who are you going to go out and get right now? And from a record standpoint, listen, the record speaks for itself. He's done a good job, a really good job, since he's been there. And so, has it turned into, national championships just yet? No. Do I think he is a coach that can win a national championship? For sure. Because the guys love playing for him. It might not always be perfect, but they play hard. So
Yeah.
it takes time. Listen, I'm seeing all this, live in person. It's it's different from a college game because you actually get to recruit kids and make sure it's the style of person and player that you want. And then, on my end, it's kind of shot in the dark. You take a guess, and then you get them here, and over time, you start to see, okay, well, these are the things that this is why they haven't made it to the NFL, or there's an attitude issue, or they have a problem following. Like, you get to spend more time with them in college and really study and learn the kids as you're, throughout the years of recruiting them. Um, but listen, I'm happy for him. I think he's done an excellent job, and I think he's only going to get better. And um, it's a lot of money.
What are there, 4, maybe 5 guys in all of the highest level of college football that are active right now that have won national championships? I think it's 5 at the most, but I think the number's 4.
I thought it was less than that.
Maybe. You got Kirby, you got Dabo, you got Ryan Day,
I thought Sig.
Sig. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So there's
I
4.
think it's only
I
4.
think it's only 4. Well, if you're gonna expand that out, you're gonna go guys who have played or have coached in the national championship game. Kalen DeBoer's there,
Yep.
and he's on the short list who have done it, uh, if not in the championship game, then the playoff, um, certainly at more than one place.
Mhm.
So, look, the guy is among the top coaches in the game today. And your Alabama, we've talked about it. Texas money is different money. Okay, Texas and probably even Texas A&M, but Texas a different level. Um, Alabama's still going to be financially, I think the perception is, I don't know if it's true. The perception is that it's behind Georgia. Um, but I know this, Alabama's always going to make sure that a successful coach is among the elite. It may not be the highest paid, but it's going to be right there in the conversation. Um, and that's the way it should be
Yeah,
when you're at Alabama. That's what it should look like.
100%. I mean, listen, you're at, you know, could be biased, but you're in a top 3 program in the country.
Yeah,
Like, and you need to be paid that way, especially if everybody else is up in their money.
right.
I mean, you have no choice, especially if you're Greg Byrne or, the donors and trustees and everybody involved in the process. Like, you got to pay this guy. You can't risk not paying somebody, losing them, and then falling into the trap of having to hire somebody else. And then you're in this carousel of firing every 2 years or whatever. Like, um, Coach DeBoer's been successful. So give him his due and his time to, get things the way he wants and then see where it goes.
Yeah. There's 2 things about this, and let's go back first and very briefly because it's been well documented. The buyout in 67.5 million if he leaves Bama before 1st of February 2027. That that's that's good insurance for Alabama right there. Okay, um, it goes all the way down, if you want to say that,
Because
down
really,
to
it's an extension for 1 year.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, if like you ended up having to fire him,
yeah,
which I mean, you're after the reason they do that's because they're after the portal thing,
right,
the portal time frame. So therefore, like you're kind of in the same boat as just say Michigan was, even though I mean theirs were it was a lot later than that, but
sure.
that's really where you're at. But I mean, it's technically if they were to make a move, it's a 1 year extension.
So that's if he's fired without cause, those are, the amounts.
Yeah,
If Bama or if DeBoer were to leave, he's going to owe Alabama anywhere from 10 million if it's before 2027 to nothing if he leaves after 2029. The rest of the deal, it's just like Coach Saban's. You can walk without there being a cost. We know how this works though. If it goes well in the next 3 years, that contract will be redone. It will be extended. We know that. If it's not going well, the truth is, AJ, it's probably that's gonna be the contract.
yeah.
Yeah, and they'll make changes. That's the way it's done in this day and
What
age.
what did you say when the buyout? All right, 10 million. But when does that take into effect? Like, is
If
that
it happens before February 1st of 27.
for the $10 million buyout
Correct.
that he would have
Correct,
to,
and
or
that's the
another
most that
school
he
would
would
have to
have to
pay?
pay. Correct.
Okay. Which
Tens
the
of mil
other school would have to pay that. I mean,
Right,
that's who it comes,
exactly.
who ends up paying that bill. It's the same way with, I think, Dan Lanning's name being thrown out there during before they hired DeBoer, and I
Right,
wanted to say his buyout was like 20 million that a
right.
school would have to pay. to Oregon for him. So
Greg Burns said before, there were names that were out there, and that's a natural one, but there's some you're just not going to talk to because of the
buyout.
It would have made no sense.
Right.
But here's another a couple of things to go to. With 4 years remaining on the original deal, it's easy to ask why the deal needed to happen at all. But here's a couple of them. Coach DeBoer talked with Chris Lowe, well-respected guy, journalist, now with On3. Just to read you a brief part of this from Chris's story. He goes, yes, he, talking about DeBoer, knew Michigan was keenly interested. Quote, I would have had to be living under a rock not to know. I'm not naive, DeBoer states. But he's also adamant that he never spoke to Michigan or had any discussions with Michigan representatives. Now, that doesn't mean Jimmy Sexton didn't, or excuse me, the agent. I don't think it's Sexton, but whoever.
It is Jimmy.
It is Jimmy? Okay.
Yeah. Isn't that right, Steve? I'm pretty sure 99.9% sure.
Yeah, you're right.
Is Jimmy.
You're right. And I should have known, but Jimmy was so visible all the time with Coach Saban that had him thought about that. DeBoer goes on to say, I never talked to anyone, not one time. I just don't know how you could live with yourself and look into your players' eyes if you're looking at other opportunities in the midst of the season and getting ready for a playoff game and hopefully making a run at a national championship. So it was a pretty easy decision not to engage with them. I didn't come here to follow Coach Saban only to turn around after 2 years and go somewhere else. I mean, this is Alabama. There are a lot of guys that may say that. And there's coach speak. You and I have both been around Kalen DeBoer long enough. We know he's not a coach speak guy. That doesn't mean Jimmy's not doing all of his due diligence.
Right.
But I believe Kalen DeBoer genuinely feels that way. Now, there's a big if out there. What if you lose to Oklahoma for a second time in the season? And things, the winds shift mightily on that plane flight back to Tuscaloosa. The perceptions very different. We know people aren't happy when you lose in the Rose Bowl, let alone lose by the margin you did. But I think when you take the deep breath and you step back from it, you go, okay, yeah, it was lousy how it finished, but it still finished in the Rose Bowl. And it's still the step in the right direction overall. I know you got some stuff there. That's the reason I took the break.
He might not be, and I believe Coach DeBoer when he says it, that he wasn't talking to Michigan. But you can bet your ass somebody was.
Yeah. Somebody that rhymes with Jimmy Sexton.
Yeah. Somebody was talking. So those things don't happen out of nowhere. There was a mention from somebody, and then it caught wind for a reason. Okay,
I understand.
In the coaching world, anybody that's been around knows, like, wherever there's smoke, there's fire at some point.
Yeah.
And there was too much smoke.
I understand.
I'm with you from a sense of, I had heard from a lot of people that if that Oklahoma game goes another way, that he could have been taking that Michigan job.
Yeah.
I've never asked Coach DeBoer. Doesn't matter. But that was out there, and it's still out there. And that could be part of the reason also why he got a new contract is, hey, you didn't take this. Let's extend you, say our thanks. Appreciate you staying, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're going to bump you up $2 million in your base salary. Here you go.
Right.
And it's a nice Christmas present, right? Happy birthday. Thank you. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, that's part of the business. Everybody does it.
Hey, It ain't new.
No.
Coach Bryant was taking the Dolphins job, and the next day he changed his mind. I mean, that was gonna happen. Coach
Yeah.
said that. I mean, that was in Coach Bryant's books and things. He was gonna take the Dolphins job and then decided to come back, or decided not to go, I should say. And so, yeah, those things can happen, and they can happen quick. He wasn't leaving Washington when he got on that plane to fly back with his team following the Rose Bowl, not the Rose Bowl, I'm sorry, their national championship game loss
I think that was Sugar Bowl, wasn't it?
to Michigan. It probably was. Uh,
Or where did they
but
play, Steve?
I yeah,
I wanna
Steve,
say
we
it was
expect
Sugar
Steve to know
Bowl.
everything, and he
Yeah.
usually does.
Usually
He comes
he's
up
our
with it.
wizard, you know?
He is the wizard. But he was not leaving for that job, and then Coach Saban announces he's going, and by Friday, he's flying to Tuscaloosa, Alabama to be the new head coach. So I say all of that to say he can genuinely say, honestly, I didn't have any interest in going to Michigan. I wasn't going. This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
It definitely would have been put on the table for him, I believe, and you do too, that would have been an option when he got back. I do know the Penn State deal is something he was adamant about in the middle of the season. You can tell everybody, I ain't interested.
I don't think
You
he
know,
wanted those issues.
I don't think he did either, and I don't blame him. And timing's different. That was early in the
Yeah.
year. He's barely into year 2.
Right.
People that remember, Dennis Franchione was almost out the door in the middle of year 1 to go to Kansas of all places, and I know that sounds absurd now, but that was a real thing. And then obviously he did ultimately leave to go to Texas A&M at the end of his second year at
Yep.
Alabama. So again, all of these conversations that are taking place, ain't nothing of it new, none of it new under the sun. This has
Right.
been going on for a long, long time. But I'm glad to see Alabama's gotten this done for another cycle, because like we talk about, players are year to year. The reality is coaches are too, man, and
Oh,
buyouts are
yeah.
important. And if you think that if you're one of those that's a real critic, and I'm not saying there aren't pieces to criticize, there's a difference in those, because clearly there are, and he'll be the first one to do it. But if you're somebody who's just going to say, "Oh, we got to throw the baby out with the bathwater," try that and start going and chasing that down the road and see how that works out for you. You'll be begging to be back in a spot that you were in this year. You'll call that major progress, but it may take you 4 or 5 more years just to get back there again. You screw it up, you can do a whole lot more damage than stay in the course if the course is slightly off, but definitely ain't fully off track. Am I
Yeah.
making that too simple?
No,
Okay.
I think that's great.
All right. When we come back, we're going to talk. I don't hear that from many people. Thank you. Appreciate that, AJ. When we come back, Ty Simpson going to the Rams. I don't think we're shocked that he got his name called. Probably not even stunned that it went in the first round. A lot of people shocked that it went as early as it did. What does it mean for Ty? What does it mean for the Rams? We'll discuss that and more when we come back. AJ McCarron, Trent Richardson joining us later. I'm Chris Stewart, and this is The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. So many people assume weight gain, fatigue, joint discomfort, it's all just part of getting older. But doctors are actually kind of learning now that many of these issues may be connected to your metabolic health, inflammation in the body, whatever they're learning. I'm the old guy on the show. I'm just glad they're starting to figure it out, and we can learn what we need to do to help.
Dr. Alex Casey at Birmingham Health is an Alabama native and former football player who works with patients every day to help them better understand how their bodies are functioning.
Dr. Casey specializes in chronic pain, neuropathy, which I've dealt with, non-surgical, non-narcotic solutions, helping patients lead pain-free, healthier lives.
Whether you're an athlete or a parent, he's committed to helping you feel better. And trust me, being a parent sometimes is way harder than going up against the SEC defense.
And Dr. Casey and his medical team at Birmingham Health are conveniently located in Bluff Park.
Call 659-247-3888 to schedule your appointment with Dr. Casey today and start your journey to better health.
All right, let me ask you this. Has anything in your house ever broken at the worst time possible?
Yeah, for me, it's almost always like it's middle of summer. Your AC's gone. Now I'm sweating. Not that that takes much. And I'm stressed, which also doesn't take much. But that's why Autumn Air actually caught our attention.
They got financing options that don't feel like you're taking out a second mortgage.
And if you do one of their whole home protection plans, it basically covers everything: AC, plumbing, and electrical.
Oh, so you mean all the stuff that you don't want to deal with?
Exactly, Trent. So instead of panicking when something breaks, you've already got it handled, which is a way better game plan. Chris Stewart, AJ McCarron with you here on the Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Again, reminder, new episodes dropping each week. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all your different podcast platforms. The hub, thedynastybama.com if you're looking for the show. And also at the Dynasty Bama, we're hoping you'll go there to rate, review, and share all across social media. Let's go to the NFL draft from last week. AJ, 10 different Alabama players drafted. Bama's had double-digit selections in 7 of the last 10 seasons and at least one first-round draft pick in each of the last 18 drafts going back to 2009. 51 total first-rounders over that span. And to put it again in context, not that that needs more, but prior to Nick Saban's arrival, the season before his arrival,
0.
That's the number. 0 players were drafted in the year prior to Nick Saban's arrival at the University of Alabama. Crazy. That's where things were. And thankfully, that's where Alabama is now. And I say now because this string continues. And you got a coach who's had 4 straight quarterbacks taken in the draft in Kalen DeBoer, and we'll talk more about that in a second. But in terms of the current players, Caden Proctor goes first round, 12th to the Dolphins. We kind of expected that. But, man, I think the pro football world was stunned that Ty Simpson went as the 13th pick to the Rams. He had been the talk leading up to it because of the position. People said, yeah, he's going to go higher than maybe expected, but that was even beyond. Why do you think the Rams made that choice where they did and when they did? What's the argument for it? Take the Alabama equation out of it, but now as a guy who has to think this way as a coach and involved in front office stuff, what's the draw that high for Ty Simpson?
Yeah, listen, first, congrats to Ty, his dad, his family, great people. I don't, and let me say this as well. It's a great fit for him. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it the episode before the draft, talking, when we were talking about the draft, saying it's not about where you get picked, it's who you get picked by.
Right.
Is the biggest factor when it comes to the draft. Okay. I don't know if he could have landed at a better spot. From a sense of not having to go in and start, not having the expectation to go in, save the organization, save the team, have all this pressure. You got to go in, prepare, and be ready to play if Matthew goes down, right? And then that still could be a question mark because, I mean, they have Stetson Bennett there who is the same type of player as Ty. I mean, that's not a knock on either one of them. Their
Their skill set's similar.
skill sets are very similar. Their build, I mean, Ty I think is a little thicker than Stetson, but build wise, so I mean, I I thought it was a shock. I knew Ty was going up boards, and we had talked about it. This was from a QB draft class as a whole was a weak class. Um, I was shocked. I don't care what he says. I think McVay was shocked. I think that pick was not his. Just understanding coaches, being around NFL coaches so for half of my life, it seems like. I don't know. I would be very surprised if that pick didn't come from the GM or the owner themselves. Because I think when you look at the facial expressions, the tone, the mannerisms of McVay in the press conferences and stuff, I think he still views it, which is totally understandable, but I think he views it as this is Matthew's team for however long Stafford wants to play.
Yeah.
And if Matt Stafford wants to play for another 5 years, guess what? You're not telling him no.
Yeah.
The dude is that talented. There's not a guy in the NFL that can throw arm talent wise, still be able to move, the smarts that he has, the quickness to get the ball out. There's not a quarterback better. I mean, there's a reason MVP.
Yeah.
So I was shocked by them taking him 13. The crazy thing is, and Steve would have to find it, but there was an interview a guy was doing about probably 2 days before the draft. I can't remember if he was on McAfee's show or somebody's show, and they were asking him about who's the guys you're hearing that could possibly go higher than what people think. Who are the guys that could fall? And Ty was one of those guys where he said, listen, I think this thing could go either way, where he's taken much higher than expected in the first round than what a lot of people are thinking, or he could fall into the second round. And this guy says, I have sources that are telling me there's nobody that has done more research as an organization than the Rams have done on Ty. I mean, he said that 2 days, I want to say it was like 2-3 days before the draft. He also called the Carson Beck to Arizona pick as well on this show. That he thought Carson Beck could creep into late first, second, or third, depending on how the draft plays out. And he's hearing that he's going to go to Arizona, which I think that's who he went to as well. So the dude was spot on both of these.
Yeah.
He thought the Rams would trade the 13th pick back to either late first or and then pick somebody. I think he said 26 is what he was hearing. They could trade back to pick somebody up, then have an early second round that pick Ty up then. But he mentioned it. He said, don't be surprised if the organization, if the Rams take him. And it was pretty, hell, it was spot on. But I thought that was wild after hearing that, the draft status of Ty, and then, kind of remembering what I watched. But
yeah,
listen, I'm happy for him. I think he's in a great spot, and I think he fits that offense well because they don't ask you to go out and get in the gun and throw it, 100 times. Like, they're built off of play action. They're the same as kind of like Shanahan is in San Fran, where if you have a run game and the offense is catered around being easier for the quarterback from a sense of getting in and out of plays and being able to play action and everything, I think it's a great fit for Ty, and I think he has a chance to be very successful there as long as Sean McVay's there.
Yeah.
But that's also a question too, Chris, is it wasn't but a couple years ago, Sean was talking about retiring after they won the Super Bowl, right? And they talked him into coming back. Like, you think about that as a player as well, because Sean could just stay in this thing until Stafford leaves, and then Sean could say, "Hey, I've made enough money. I'm out too."
Yeah.
And that puts you in a bad situation because now you got possibly a whole new front office coming in that the GM could be fired, let go. The owner wants to go start all over, or for sure, a new head coach is coming in and you might not fit his offense. You might not be his type of guy. So now you got to try to work your way into that situation too and figure out how can you be successful after spending a certain amount of years learning this offense. So that's a whole nother issue. But listen,
You're going
he's
to learn
gonna
it
get
with a
paid.
whole lot of money in your bank account by then.
Yep. He's going to get paid. And, I'm happy for Ty. He's a great kid, and I wish him the best for sure.
All right. Real quick, the other guys that went in the draft. We talked about Caden Proctor in front of Ty, but after him in varying rounds, Jeremy Bernard, LT Overton, Parker Brailsford, Justin Jefferson, Josh Cuevas, Damani Jackson, Tim Keenan III, Jam Miller. Anybody surprise you in that mix, or anything about any of those that stands out to you? Maybe where they went, who they went to. I'll tell you, for me, I was pleasantly surprised. And maybe I shouldn't have been. It's just probably ignorance on my part. Just because there were so many struggles, I was pleasantly surprised that Jam got his name called, and to an organization like the Patriots, where there's some history there. Guys.
I mean, who does he remind you of though that they drafted?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Damian Harris.
Damian Harris.
Like,
our fellow broadcaster.
Yeah, I mean, it's identical,
right?
And it's the same, scheme, same everything that they were running then.
Right.
So he kind of fits that system where you can put him out of the backfield, run halfback choices, run him on burst, like do things with him, and then he's a inside the tackle runner as well. So they'll have a scat back that pairs up with him. As that's how they build that organization and that team. So, what round did Bernard go in? Was he third?
Second. 47th pick to the Steelers.
That's a great. I like that selection. I think Jeremy's going to be a really good player. I think
he'll be a pro in every sense.
Yeah, like he doesn't say anything. Just he's a workhorse. I think he's a younger Deebo Samuels, like where you'll be able to line him up in the backfield. You'll be able to that McCarthy offense. I think he'll. I think he'll be really good in that offense.
You basically had the whole offensive line either get drafted or sign as a free agent.
Brailsford get picked?
Brailsford got drafted in the 5th round, went to the Browns.
That's a bad choice of leaving early.
It's for him.
I mean,
bad organization.
Well, not only that, but because he left early, right?
I'm trying to
I believe Parker had a year left, didn't he?
Again, I should know this, but I flush all that at the end of the year. He did leave a year early, is what Steve's telling us. So, yeah, he did go. But it makes you wonder, if you can go 5th round now, where might you have gone if you'd stuck around for another year?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
you got to think you're only going to go up in the draft.
Yeah. And you were going to
Um,
make money. And I don't
yeah.
know how fifth round money compares to what you're going to make in college.
I
Now,
can tell you.
I don't
I
know.
mean,
Well,
it's
you
gone
would know,
up
wouldn't
since
you?
yeah, it's gone up since I was there. I signed a 4-year 2.6, 2.6. So
Over the
he's
course of 4
probably
years?
4 years. So they're probably at a 3 million, maybe 3.2, maybe a little more, 3.4, let's just say.
Yeah, he's going to be, guys, he's going to be just under 5 million, 4 years, 4.77 million.
So it's gone up a lot.
Not
cap.
not that he was going to make that next year at Alabama, but
Yeah, I mean, he's averaging $1 million a year, but still, like, all right, do you just say you make at Bama, say you're making 250?
yeah, that's
All
what I
right,
was thinking.
right. So just say 250. Then, I mean,
You're
and you
gambling on
bump up,
yourself.
and and you're gambling on yourself to go back and play well in an offense that you already know, you understand, you've been the center there. Like I don't know who he took advice from, but I don't know. I mean, if I'm him, I wouldn't have gone out. It's unless he was getting, pushed. I mean, there's so many different ways to do it. I don't want to speak on it just because I don't know
Yeah.
it, but that's the one when I look at Parker Brailsford, because I thought he was a really good player. And me personally, I thought he was the best O lineman for Alabama last year.
Yeah. I
Um,
wouldn't
I
disagree.
thought he was the most consistent player they had
Yeah.
on that O line. So, I don't know. That's probably one that I would have said, hey, probably hang back, but I'm happy for the guys.
Let me ask you one. Let's go outside of Bama, but it's an SEC guy, and it's somebody we talked about during the year. Garrett Nussmeier, 7th round pick. He falls from being a guy that was one of the Heisman favorites coming into the season to being a 7th round pick. He had injury stuff during the year. It was we never really got specifics, but it turns out, there's a story that he had a cyst on his spine that was removed. He's fine. The health is good. Maybe upside. And I want to get your thoughts on this, but I do want to ask going into it, do you think that a lot of these guys who are sitting in the draft rooms get it in their head that they like somebody and almost no matter what you tell them, they're still going to find a reason to go with them? And if it's somebody they're not sure about or don't like, there's nothing you can say that way that's going to change their mind. Okay. That's what I thought.
100%.
Yeah. I'm just
Like,
guessing.
dude, there's a reason so many GMs get fired every year. And head coaches get fired. Like, it's not always about the coaching. Because listen, when you're a head coach, okay, and you're not coaching one side of the ball, and you're a manager instead of a head coach, all right, you where you get the downfall is from a talent evaluation standpoint. And that's the biggest issue right there, because you're not coaching offense, you're not coaching defense. You have to be a talent evaluator, and then you got to get guys to play hard. That's your job as a head coach, more of a manager, which if you ever ask Coach Saban, that's why he believes NFL head coaches should be called managers, just like they are in professional baseball, because he'll tell you,
Mhm.
well, you're not really coaching anything. You're just managing guys. All
Yeah.
right. So, but yes, like that's to get back to my point, there's a reason why so many head coaches with that power of evaluating talent or GMs, scouting departments get fired each and every year. It's because they will overthink anything and everything, and then they will take in bad information and not pay attention to the film and think about all the other BS out there instead of just watching film and focusing on that. So, I mean, listen, I've heard of going back and asking janitors from your high school what they thought about you, and teachers from the 5th grade, and like all kind of crazy stories. And there's so much stupidity in this deal to where it's like, just watch the film. Watch the film. If the
Yeah.
if the guy's a good player, then you go from there to, okay, does he have character issues? Does he have a drug problem? Is he an alcoholic? Like, okay, what else is there? But they will skip the tape part and just go straight into stupidity. And like it's such an issue for the NFL. But I don't know why. I don't understand why Garrett fell so much. Listen, I still think Garrett's a unbelievable talent. The kid's got a ton of arm talent. He can change arm angles. And other than Ty, which you could argue for Garrett's case, he got put in the best team he could possibly ever go to in the draft, being with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
Hell, brother, you ain't expected to play there. But when you do get your opportunity, they're known to pay their backups and keep them around.
Yeah.
And if you can go in there and play well and just get paid by Kansas City, or you go in there because Pat's coming off ACL or Pat's has ankle issues throughout the year, like, you go in there and play well, dude, you are set up. You know Andy Reid's going to have talent. They've had talent on their team each and every year. They've been in the hunt for the Super Bowl every year, damn near.
Yeah.
Like, they make a run. So you're in a great spot. You're in a great division to make a good run as well. The Raiders still suck. All right. The Chargers are trying to figure it out. And then Denver figured it out, but you don't know if that's going to last. And they have like a sophomore slump, basically, after having a good year this year. So, like, you're in a great spot as well, to where Andy Reid has proven that he is going to get talent there. He's going to keep guys around you to be successful. And that offense is just the same as San Fran, the same as LA's, the Rams. Like, it's QB friendly. So I think he's in a great spot. If I'm Garrett, I'm not worried about where the hell I got picked. Like, you are, as a person and a competitor and a player, you're going to care about it right then. But let that fuel that fire and go out and perform, dude, because you're in a great spot and you have a chance to change that money and make it more money in the end, and have a ton of success. So I'm happy. I absolutely love his family. His dad's freaking awesome. His mom's great. His sister and brother. Hell, his brother's going to be a big time recruit at the quarterback position coming out as well out of high school here, and I'm super happy for him.
Sticking with that theme of future quarterbacks, as we've talked about guys who are just leaving the SEC. Bama on Saturday gets a commitment from a guy named Elijah Haven. He's the top-ranked quarterback in the class of 2027. We know it's a different era, different time with NIL, but how large of a factor is Kalen DeBoer's track record with quarterbacks when it comes to kids picking schools? Because, again, we talked about it earlier in this segment, 4 straight years Coach DeBoer has had a quarterback, or his quarterback has been taken in the draft. The guy from Fresno, Jake Haener, Michael Penix Jr. From Washington, Jalen, and now Ty, all going first round.
Yeah, I mean, hell, I'd be honest with you, I don't know anything about Elijah, but I don't know if it's Coach DeBoer. I mean, listen, you got to recruit, or if the kid just loves Alabama and
Baton Rouge
and
kid, which a lot of Baton Rouge kids have loved Alabama over the years.
yeah, and hell, maybe that money's going a lot longer for you in Tuscaloosa than it is Baton Rouge right now. So
yeah,
I mean, the kid could change. I don't pay attention to the commits. And just being honest, because hell, it seems like these kids flip 1,800 times before they ever actually sign with anybody. So it's great. Well, we'll see if we keep him. I mean,
Yeah.
who the hell knows?
Yeah. It is good, obviously, though, to still have those names, the same names we've grown accustomed to over the last 15, 20 years now in recruiting. You're still getting what you're accustomed
Oh,
to
yeah.
choosing Alabama. You're
Yeah.
again, you're making contact. Hopefully you're gonna keep hitting over 300 and get yourself to Cooperstown in that regard before it's all said and done. All right, we are going to take one final break. We're coming back, and we're going to wrap up this edition. We call it The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome back to The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. We do remind you, please, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, check us out, thedynastybama.com. Also, rate, review, and share across social media, the handle at The Dynasty Bama. We were pass happy the first two segments with A.J. McCarron. Now we're going to go ground and pound, baby. We got Trent Richardson with us for our final segment. I'm Chris Stewart. And Trent, I want to get your thoughts. We talked draft news with A.J. in the last segment, but I want to get your thoughts about the running back spot. Jeremiah Love becomes the first running back drafted since the Giants took Saquon Barkley second back in 2018. We also talked about it last segment. Jam gets to hear his name called. He's a seventh-round pick for the Patriots. But in terms of the way NFL teams value running backs, is that starting to change now? Two guys go in the first round, but one goes as high as third. Is it changing, or is it just that Jeremiah Love's a really special talent at that position?
It's hard to tell to say that it's changing. I think Jeremiah, he's just a special specimen, man, when it comes to being a running back. I was actually just watching some of his clips, and that dude can go from 0 to 60 within a drop of a dime. He ran a 98-yard touchdown in the playoff against Indiana. And kid played hurt. I know he messed up his knee. I think it might have been his meniscus. One thing I can say, he's, he loves to pound the ball, and he's trying to run you over at the same time, but he still has that. I think he was a 4.3 guy or a 4.4 guy at the combine. And I mean, his vision is special too, man. So you look at him, man, when he get downhill and when he see those backers, because I feel like he's feeling for the O-line, for the D-line, what you're supposed to, and read those linebackers. And so when he does that, man, he got the vision of, okay, I'm getting to the next level. Like, I'm not just, and he got the bounce back too. So that's a good thing about him. And I like the guy too that was behind him, or I say on the side of him. That guy was
Jadarian
special
Price.
too. Yeah, man, Price was special. And so it was three guys that I really liked in this draft class, as far as running backs. I got Black from Indiana.
Yeah, he went to the Niners in the third.
I think Niners got a steal with him.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't just third round. He was 26th pick in the third round.
Yeah. I think the Niners got a steal with him, and I think he'll compliment Christian a lot out there, because Christian hasn't been the healthiest since he's been in the league for real. But he's worked every dime It
Yeah.
is out there because he does so much, but having a guy like Black out there, learning behind him, following up, with the stuff that he does and, just teaching Black the ropes, I think that'll be a good combination out there.
I do want to get your thoughts real quick on Jam
Mhm.
because he gets his name called. AJ made the comparison of Jam to Damian Harris going to the Patriots and the fact that the system's still the system there in New England and thinks it's a great fit and there'll be a real opportunity for him with New England.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect fit for him, especially with, having that system as a pro style system still. And, I think that um, Damian Harris, I think that's right on point. And I definitely think, I think he's a little faster than Damian was. But I definitely think, he does have the vision. I think he was just hurt last year,
Yeah.
last football season. So, when you get a guy healthy that's in a pro system, and I always say he should be in the eye or the single back or the pistol. You
Yeah.
get him going down here, that's when he was most successful. And so you get a guy like that, and he, got pretty good hands too. But my biggest thing is for Jam, and I know he was the best blocker we had this year. When you get to this pro style, when you get to this pro system, you got to make sure you be able to, block for the quarterback. And you do that, man. I think the sky's the limit for the kid. I think he gonna be one of those guys that people missed on, and he got in the system that works for him and that fits him. So I think he went to the right one.
We give you a chance to go short yardage each week, big man. That's your chance to kind of take it and run with it. What have you got for us? What do you want to share that's on your mind this week?
Man, I got to go back to back down south, man, not too far from where I'm from, and got to ride to Pensacola. I ain't been back since my mom passed last year, so it was a good time with the family this weekend, man, and got to spend some time out there in Gulf Shores and got to be on the beach for the weekend. That's actually why I'm late to the show today. But man, just got to see the kids and got to do something with them. I know it's probably gonna be one of TJ last weekends that he's not busy, so got to spend some time with him and just the family, man. Just it was time needed. Time definitely
Yeah.
needed. Camp got pushed back because of the weather, because it was like 6% of rain, and it did rain pretty bad at one point, and so. I'm glad it did get pushed back because I'm the type of guy who wants to run in camp and I wants to get let these kids get something out this camp and learn something. And our guys are excited about the camp. And when we come back June the 6th, we're gonna have our camp down there at Robertsdale High School, and it's gonna be a good one, man. And gonna be a lot of people out there, and it's gonna be an enjoyable experience. And hopefully these guys can take something to these big camps when they go to these colleges and stuff like that. So man, I had a good time though. I enjoyed the family a lot and got to get on the boat a little bit, man. With my guy Wild Bill down there.
The only problem is now you're stressed again because you had to sit in traffic for 2.5 hours before you
Man,
tried to come back. You need a vacation from the vacation with that.
man, my back's so jammed up right now. I need to go get a realignment when I leave here.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I was in traffic about 2 hours. I've never been in traffic about 2 hours just sitting in one spot.
The joy of coming back from the beach when everybody else is trying to get back from it.
Yeah,
Hey,
kids farting and stuff. So I smelled smelled all day.
That's a great way to walk away from this one, baby. From Trent Richardson and for AJ McCarron and the best producer in the business, Stephen Gorgie. Appreciate him so very much. I'm Chris Stewart. Thank you for joining us here on The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide.